Hello and welcome to the podcast who is far too big to hide behind a post and steal the ball from the goalkeeper. It's the big man up top.
Certainly is. I mean, you know, I've got to be honest, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a good time. If you haven't seen this, you should go and check out Crew Alexander's goal at the weekend. He genuinely just hit, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, it was just so blatant.
I saw a lot in the comments, the angry fans who were just like, well, you know, it's deception, which is not allowed in the game, and also he was off the pitch, which is not allowed and I just went, oh, come on, it's on the goalkeeper. He picks the ball up, he rolls it out in front of him. The striker just runs in behind him like a pantomime villain. He's behind you, and scores a goal. I'm all for it. I think it's good stuff.
It's just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Just a bit of fun. And you know what? That is a very first or second week of the league kind of goal to score.
It really is.
That doesn't work in November, I don't think.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it counts in November, does it?
No, exactly. Joe, where on earth are you? Because I'm on my own here in the studio. I'm doing that, John Travolta meme. Where are you?
So that's good from you. Good meme knowledge. I'm at home. I'm in my small box room studio because, alas, Ed, I've been ruled out for the first few. I reckon I've been ruled out until the international break. I won't lie to you.
Oh my gosh, what's happened?
Well, I've pulled my trapezius. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm genuinely concerned.
No. It's fine now. We're fine.
So this is a muscle in your back. What have you?
Muscle in your back.
How did you do this?
Basically, I think I was holding my nephew wrong.
Right.
I held him for 5 minutes the other day.
Yeah.
And then by the Wednesday, I was in agony, absolute agony.
Is your nephew 15?
No. Very much 6 months old.
Oh dear.
Apparently it's very common, so it's a danger to us all out there. Look after your backs. You need to exercise your backs. All that to say, I've been on some very strong painkillers and advised not to drive.
Well, you stay there and you rest and recuperate. And all jokes aside, Joe, do look after yourself. We are worried about you.
It does, of course, mean that I am. It's another reason why I can't join the UCB 5-a-side
Well, exactly.
team, which I'm excited to hear an update, Ed. What's been going on?
Oh, well, okay. So we've played 2 games now.
Okay.
Because we played last night, Monday night, and so the first game we lost 5-1.
Okay.
But what I would say was it was a valiant 5-1. It was probably should have been 3-1, but we got tired at the end. A couple of sloppy goals towards the scoreline got away from us a bit. Last night we played top of the table and we lost 12-0.
Oh no! I had optimism.
We had 1 shot on target, and the most important thing is the UCB 6-a-side football team is enjoying it. We're aware that we will get better. The standard of the opposition is going to come down as well because we've just played the top 2 in the league. So we're feeling good. It's
a baptism of fire. What I have heard, the rumours have it that producer Tom, is everywhere.
You know what? So he sort of said to me, like, Ed, I don't really know how to play football. I don't know what I'm doing. You tell me what to do. And so I just said, right, you can defend. You sit at the back. I'm in goal, and I will talk you through it. I just said, just get in the way. And you know what? He just got in the way, and boy, did he get in the way well, let me tell you.
He was just first to every ball, everywhere.
Absolutely.
Love that. Well, Ed, I'll be keeping an eye on future results. Where is Tom? Is he taking it easy? Is he also injured?
No, he's not injured. He's just on holiday, Joe. He's just on holiday.
Okay.
Hence why I'm on my own in the studio. Yes, but Tom will be back next week. Now, next week's episode, we're actually going to be at Big Church Festival. All 3 of us, aren't we, Joe, this weekend?
On the road, yes.
So I don't quite know how we're going to do it, but there will be an episode next week. We might just need to just record it from the back of a tent like we did last year, Joe. We'll figure it out.
It worked, didn't it? It was fine.
Sort of, yeah, exactly.
It normally consists of us So we have other jobs, Ed, is the thing here.
Yes, we do.
Spending the whole weekend doing our actual jobs and then remembering there's football on, rushing back to the hotel, getting there for match of the day and scrubbing up on some sort of footballing opinions by Sunday. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Anyway, should we do some Bible ballers, Joe?
Let's do it. This is the quiz section of our podcast, Bible Ballers. A Bible baller is a footballer or football adjacent person who shares their first name with a book in the Bible. And this week, I am quizzing you, Ed. Are you ready?
Yes, excited.
Now, this one actually is quite an emotional one for me, Ed. I have to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because for the first time in 10 seasons, Liverpool have started a season without Mohamed Salah. He started the season this weekend for Trabzonspor.
He did okay, didn't he?
Did okay, he scored 2 goals, one of which was a trademark Mo Salah goal that I very much missed for Liverpool, and we could have done with, actually. But he has moved from Liverpool to Trabzonspor. He's not the first ever Liverpool player to do that, Ed. No. Who was the last Liverpool player, which Bible baller, by the way, was the last Liverpool player to move from Liverpool to Trabzonspor?
Okay, so we're talking Liverpool Bible baller who moved directly from Liverpool to Trabzonspor? Okay, yeah, okay. Directly. Oh, I've got to think.
Because, of course, Fabinho has just joined as well.
Yeah.
But he's gone via Saudi Arabia.
They're getting the old band back together. I think, I'm just going to have to start racking my brains for former Liverpool players who feel very, very Turkish Super League.
All right.
But we'll get there. Give me some time, Joe. Right, Joe, first week of the Premier League season. And it was a good one, wasn't it? Like, just broadly, like loads of goals, loads of excitement. Yeah, top stuff. It's great to have the Premier League back.
I think it was really good. Look, I've said I wasn't ready for it. I said I could do it a few more weeks. But as soon as you see that Hull 2, Manchester United 0 come through the gates, we're ignoring Friday night, Arsenal 3, Coventry 0. Boring. Don't want to start the season like that. Arsenal going to win the league at a canter. But that whole result, football's back.
I spent the weekend, Joe, consuming football in the single greatest way possible, and that's listening to TalkSport /5 Live in the garden whilst demolishing a shed. So that's for me. That's great. You know.
What's wrong with your shed?
There's a shed down the side of my house that we didn't know about. It's a whole thing.
You didn't know about?
Yeah. Basically.
When did you find out about it?
A few years ago, but we lived there for a couple of years before we were like, oh, there's an extra shed down the side of the house. It was sort of hidden away by sort of overgrown bushes and stuff, and it was all rotting and it just needed getting rid of. So that's what I did at the weekend whilst listening to some excellent radio football commentary, which is unequivocally the greatest way to consume, particularly, I think daytime Saturday kickoffs.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
Let's start with Hull beating Man United. We have to say from the outset, I think we and every other media outlet basically put Hull to struggle. If you're looking at a newly promoted side to stay up and avoid relegation, you're looking at possibly Coventry, a push, maybe Ipswich, but definitely not Hull. And they had a great game against Man United.
They were so good. Everyone had Hull 20th, and they got into the Premier League by accident. They're here for a good time, not a long time, essentially. But they were phenomenal. The team spirit here was so good. It was your classic. You don't want to go away to a promoted team, do you? On the first weekend of the season at midday. It's a recipe for disaster. And Hull really played up to that. The atmosphere was electric. A couple of really good new signings, particularly their centre-back. Nobel Mendy had a phenomenal game. He ended up getting the second goal. Also, Semi Ajayi, former West Brom player, of course, scoring as well. 2 goals from set pieces, which it feels like Hull have come into this season and seen set piece is the way to go. It's hard to judge from game week 1, but their game plan was perfect and they executed it to perfection.
And McBurney had a great game up front as well. In that classic, oh, really, are you leading the line with McBurney? Is that going to work? And yeah, he had a stunning game, doing just a lot of that work that you need a player like that to do. But Hull were, to every second ball, weren't they?
They were just really up for it. And it's that classic thing of they just wanted it more. Like, it's such a cliche. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's so true. And yeah, you're right to point out McBurney. His hold-up play was phenomenal. There was that one run he made that was half the length of the pitch with the ball, and really slaloms through the defenders. And he's had such a weird career, hasn't he? He's kind of seen as this championship big man up top, gets about 10 goals a season. Then he does a season in Las Palmas in Spain, just because he fancies a bit of sun. And then he comes back, gets promoted with Hull. And yeah, he had a great game.
Interested to talk about Man United and in the sense that again I think I said they were going to be second this year, and look, I'm not writing off that prediction already. It's one game, as you said, but they looked off the pace. There was a particular comment, I think it was Bruno Fernandes, who said, oh, we were expecting them to play a back four and they played a back five, and it's like, well, that's not really good enough, is it?
At the top level, you can't be saying that. What's also brilliant is Hull did make that switch to a back three because they saw AC Milan play against United in pre-season and it went well. Who manages AC Milan? Ruben Amorim.
Exactly, it's fantastic stuff.
It's so good.
Continuing the Manchester United comedy show was the moment. I don't know if you saw this. I think I saw a reel of this, and it made me chuckle. Of Harry Maguire marking his own player. Did you see this?
Yeah, confusing. He was kind of grabbed hold of Mbeumo, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He was not letting Mbeumo get to the ball, which sort of sounds. Sounds like Harry Maguire. Although, jokes aside, I think you have to say Harry Maguire was sort of one of the outstanding performers for Manchester United. Doesn't say a lot, but really in a game where they needed some stability, because, the sort of new look midfield didn't give any stability. Tielemans was not great, although, again, first game. But Harry Maguire seemed to have a decent game. But all said and done, incredible result for Hull. They've just got to ride this momentum as long as they can, because it's likely going to, disappear quite soon. But I think I read something about how essentially 10 wins in the Premier League is enough to keep you up.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. So
one down.
Let's just keep going. Let's, make the whatever it's called, the KC Stadium. It's not called that anymore, is it? Whatever Hull Stadium is called.
Whatever it is. Keep mauling. Did you like their little the fans doing that? I love it.
I do like it now, because I'm pretty sure they know, Hull fans must know that it looks ridiculous, and that's part of the fun of it. And so yes, that's great.
I really like it. But for United, I think you have to be concerned for this result, because that midfield did not look good. So many teams have new up midfield, made loads of signings, and it's going to take time for these midfields to settle in, these new players to settle in. United are one of the only Premier League teams with the same manager as last season that have that consistency. And when you are in that position, you have to hit the ground running, and they just haven't done that. And it's just created more questions than answers, that first game. So you have to be slightly concerned. It's important not to jump the gun after one game week, but there's questions to be asked.
Another poor performance from a Manchester side. Man City scraping through against Bournemouth. Now, crucially, they did manage to win. They beat Bournemouth 2-1. Boy, did they make hard work of it. Again, let's talk about the opposition. Bournemouth really taking it to Man City. But yeah, City not looking great in this one, despite getting the win.
No. And props to Bournemouth. Again, the continuation plan here, their team spirit is continued from last season with a new manager having lost some players. Bournemouth is so good at doing this, and they turned up to the Etihad and gave them a really good game. Probably should have got at least a point from that game. But yeah, Man City, they've got some star quality players. Phil Foden's out there to prove himself. Lovely little flick, attempted assist in the first half. Enzo Maresca, is he trying to be Pep Guardiola by putting Mark Gahey in the midfield? Try and do your own thing, I think, Enzo. What do you think?
Well, I thought that too. In that, I mean, look, obviously Mark Gay, he's an outstanding talent, but and I've not watched him as much as, for example, Maresca will have in training, but
Sure.
he isn't a midfielder, is he? He is a centre back. He
No.
is a very
Very much
classic
the best centre back of that club.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yes, he's good on the ball, but he is not a central midfielder. And so I just think, well, maybe this is the right time to try and experiment. I don't know. But either way, I'd say City got away with one in this one. What did you make of the most important thing of this game? Haaland's new haircut, Joe.
Well, there's an obvious biblical comparison here, Ed, isn't it? How long is he going to go without scoring now he's cut his hair? Hashtag Samson.
There was quite a lot of uproar in the office, Joe, which you didn't take part in because you weren't here because you're poorly
I
back.
wasn't here because of my
But
poorly
there was a
back.
lot of conversation about Haaland's new haircut. At which point, I think it was UCB1 Sarah Hine who said, "Hang on a minute, this was just the haircut he had at Borussia Dortmund. It's not. It's not
Oh,
sort of.
yeah.
It's
He's
not.
done this before.
Yeah, this isn't like really scary stuff, but certainly again not particularly firing, but I'm sure City will come good. But as you say, some interesting changes for Bournemouth, and I think they'll take a lot of heart from this game because let's face it, away at the Etihad is the second hardest fixture in their season, isn't it? And to get it out the way early and to play well will bode well for them.
100%.
Let's move on to Brentford beating Spurs 3-0, which is sort of one of the, I would say, most expected, unexpected results of the weekend. Of course, people like me, and I don't know whether you did, Joe, tipped Spurs again to have a great season. Surely they can't carry on with the nonsense of the last 2 years, and yet here they are, losing 3-0 to Brentford and looking like it could have been plenty more as well.
Just more of the same from both teams, really. Brentford, again, great start to the season. Continuation under Keith Andrews. This feels like the first season where no one's tipping Brentford to go down because everyone's been like, oh, surely they're coming to the end. Thomas Frank has gone, all that. Last season, they were heavily tipped to go down and they proved everyone wrong. And they just continued more of the same. But then with Spurs, they've spent so much money. They've bought Tonali, they've bought Fernandes, they've bought some new centre-backs. They're getting some new forwards through the door as well. You have to think, surely, they've got a new manager, surely it will be different. But then that lineup drops. You've got Conor Gallagher in the 10. You're like, what's changed? It's exactly the same. You've still got Richarlison leading the line, which shouldn't be happening in 2026 for a Premier League team. It was just more of the same. It was stale. There was no game plan. And they need something significant to change.
We said probably in almost every game so far, it's something to the effect of, yeah, it's just game week one. And I do feel like at this point we have to say that, yes, it is just game week one. My granddad used to have a bit of wisdom, Joe. He always used to tell you to completely ignore the first 4 games of the season.
Really?
And he said, don't worry until after the 6th game. That was his thing. He said, completely ignore the results of the first 4 games. However, after 6 games, that's when you can start to worry about a pattern. Because I think he was talking about how the players have to ease into a season and all of that. And so you can kind of take too much from these sorts of games. That said, sadly, the game we're in today and the society we're in today is all about instant wins, isn't it? Already 2 weeks into the championship season, there's talk of Mark Robbins being sacked as Stoke manager, which of course, and so that's it. People will take things, won't they, from day one, and they will go, oh well, Spurs, that's it. They're going to be down there. That won't do the players any good, will it, in terms of their confidence?
No. Well, I think we just live in a society where perspective isn't a thing anymore, is it? We all want to have that big opinion, that opinion that's going to turn heads, it's going to make us stand out, it's going to make people shocked, the shock factor. And when that's online, it's about views, it's about likes, it's about all that kind of stuff. But we have such a small sample size to do that on, but we still do it anyway. We can only make opinions, and we're doing it right now. Of course we are. Like, we're creating content from one game week of football. And it's a pretty boring listen, isn't it? If we just say none of this really
None of
matters.
this matters. It's just all pre-season friendlies that you get points for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If the next 5 episodes were just we're not going to form any opinions until game week 6, then what are we all doing? But at the same time, it's so important to have the perspective that actually,
The thing is, as well, is you look at, like, for example, there's been teams where they've started really poorly in terms of, in terms of picking up points, and yet you can tell there's a better player or a better team in what the results are saying. But because of the sluggish start, they've ended up not fulfilling that. I think that was Aston Villa a few years ago, who had a great season bar the start of the season and ended up
yeah,
essentially. I can't quite remember where they finished, but you think
yeah, it was last season they didn't score for 11 games.
yeah, and
Something like
you
that.
just think, well, if you start well, you could have been up challenging for the league. If you'd have sort of hit the ground running. It was interesting to hear a comment from De Zerbi, wasn't it, in this one, Joe, around this one about preparedness, and I think there's, we're going to sort of have open the Bible up, as we love doing on this show. To talk about this idea that they weren't ready for the season. What do you make, Joe, of that comment from De Zerbi, essentially saying, like, they're not ready?
Well, yeah, this essentially came even before the season started, after the Hoffenheim friendly that they had. He basically just said this squad is not ready for the Premier League season to start. And we've had similar comments as well from Alvaro Arbeloa at Fulham that just said there's so many teams across the Premier League this weekend that aren't ready for the season to start. And look, there might be some stuff there around, like the World Cup has basically only just finished, hasn't it? There's not been much of a break, straight into pre-season. But it's just an interesting one, isn't it? That you've had a full summer at the club with players that haven't gone to the World Cup. You've then this has happened so for so many years that you integrate your World Cup players in. So then to not be ready for the first game week of the season, just it's not good to hear from a Spurs fan perspective that your team isn't ready to go. Like, yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it?
Yes, there is a really valid argument about the World Cup interfering with summer plans. Players appear at different points, and it is a symptom of modern football that the players sort of come back into the club in dribs and drabs, and that can't help. But ultimately, that is the same for every single team. Look at Arsenal. We were having conversations, weren't we, the other week about Declan Rice not playing until the first international break, and yet he featured in the first week, amongst others. Players who are exhausted have come back and hit the ground running. Should they? I don't know. That's a different conversation. But De Zerbi here, I think he's throwing out an excuse, trying to get his excuses in early, because the squad isn't where he wants it to be.
Yeah, and his style of play is known for being very high pressing, and you need a lot of energy. You need to run a lot to play him. So maybe he's hinting at that, but it's easy for us to sit here and say you should be ready, right?
It's funny looking at the Bible for this, right? Because what does the Bible say, Joe, about pre-season preparations?
I'd imagine it says quite a lot, doesn't it?
Well. It was harder than you thought, but a lot of where the Bible talks about preparedness, it's talking about spiritual preparedness, and I think so. It's probably a bit too much of a stretch for us to bring in a Bible verse about being ready for Jesus' return. But what I would say is there are definitely verses that talk about being prepared for difficulties in life. So Jesus himself talked about, in this world you'll have trouble, and there are verses in Proverbs. One that I found that talked about the prudent sees danger and hides himself. Another verse that talks about preparing bread in summer and gathering food in harvest, as if to say, like, look, come on, like, you have to prepare for life, whether that is food and sorting out families, shelter and all of that stuff, or if it's work. And this is De Zerbi's work, isn't it? So I do think there's something there in saying, well, what is going on at Spurs that means they're not ready for this. Something needs sorting, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's a conversation that our faith does speak into, but maybe what our faith speaks into more is how to respond when your human preparedness isn't enough, right? Yeah. Like, we can all have conversations about how do you prepare for the next season of life. If we're going to really do a tenuous link here between seasons.
But that's what we do, Joe.
That's what this podcast is all about. And if you are going into a new season of something, maybe that's a new job, a new family situation, a new place to live, you can't prepare yourself for everything that's going to happen. It's not possible. It'd be boring if you knew that everything was going to happen over the next however long. But what our faith brings is actually that thing of when things don't go the way we think they are going to go, or the way we have fully prepared to go, we have a God who sits beside us, and we can seek comfort from, or from wisdom from, and communities as well. God speaks to our communities and through anyone, through the Bible as well. We have sources to go to when our own strength and our own preparedness isn't enough.
The final game that we want to touch on was involving Newcastle and Liverpool, two sides who I think it's fair to say we're not entirely sure how they're going to play this season. But finishing 2-2 at St James's Park, there's a bigger sort of story around this game and the tribute to footballing legend Kevin Keegan that we want to touch on. But first of all, Joe, as a Liverpool fan, how did you take this game? Are you happy with the point away at St James?
Yeah, always happy with the point away at St James's. Liverpool have made a habit of actually going there and winning quite recently, and it's always a last-minute goal. We always seem to get a last-minute goal at St James's Park. Such a hard place to go, really hard atmosphere. I felt for Alexander Isak. He was really up against it, really hostile environment to go back into. Maybe rightly so because of the way he left that club. I think the boos were a lot, but I understand why Newcastle fans are frustrated by how all that worked out. So yeah, I'm happy with the point. I thought Liverpool were fine. It was a lot of the same of last year. Iraola's come in. He's got a new style of play to implement, and that's not going to happen straight away. Because Arne Slot came in, had a great first season. That first half of the season was phenomenal. But then he got worked out. Even towards the end of that title-winning season, Arne Slot and his tactics got worked out. And then he had no chance. Even going to the second season, he tried to change some things. He had no chance. I'd much rather a manager comes in, takes a bit longer to implement his style of play, and isn't worked out than the other way around. Maybe that's just me being hopeful, Ed, but I'm not looking at this negatively. I think Liverpool were a bit more exciting to watch. They're a bit more vertical in attack. But this was a great game. Two teams just playing so direct, and really exciting game. It always is between Newcastle and Liverpool. But yeah, a lot of the conversation around this is a game that Kevin Keegan would have loved.
Absolutely. And so I think given the passing of Kevin Keegan and his importance to both clubs, Newcastle United and Liverpool, this was seen as the moment to really honour the legacy of Kevin Keegan. As a Liverpool fan, Joe, what did you think of the way that Kevin Keegan was honoured at the weekend?
Well, I think it's quite clear he's an absolute legend. You see all the montages and then the actual tributes. Everyone loved this man. Now, I have to say that I'm fairly young, Ed. I'm 30. So Kevin Keegan was slightly before my time of watching football. I know him more as a manager than I do as a player. But it's always so striking how a person can be at so many clubs, Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City, and they all just absolutely love him as a person. I probably know him most for that interview of "I would love it if we beat them." That is my go-to Kevin Keegan reference, and I think that's probably not fair. A lot of my generation, that might be the case, that he's known for that interview and for many things like that. And that's probably not fair because he's just given so much to the game. He was a phenomenal player as well. And you've said to me before about how he was a phenomenal player that was probably missed in quite a poor era for England.
Yeah, that's right. He was an outstanding player, and particularly, the 70s and 80s were his time, which is when England as a world football force were not there. We didn't qualify for the World Cups in 74 and 78, but even despite that, Kevin Keegan won the Ballon d'Or back to back in 78 and 79, and he's still the only British player to win it twice. And so if that doesn't show you how good a player he was, but not just how good, it was the way he played. He played, with just joy, and football being sort of an expression of that. In very much in the mold of, I think, of someone like Johan Cruyff or Paul Gascoigne, where you watch them and you're on the edge of your seat, and that's how Kevin Keegan played. But also, I think as well, like, his legacy as a manager is remarkable as well. His teams were always entertaining. They played in the same way that he did as a player, and it's often, you mentioned that incredible spell at Newcastle, where he was sort of the first manager, I would say, to go toe to toe with Fergie in the early Premier League days. I think that it then became Arsene Wenger in the late 90s, but Keegan was part of that fabric of the early Premier League. But also as well, you kind of forget that he was part of the early sort of Man City journey into their rise to being a behemoth as well. The start of the Etihad journey there. So I think that it's just remembering that Keegan has had so many touch points with modern football. It would not be the same, without him. And I think that it made us think about this idea of legacy, and certain players get a statue, don't they, Joe? And certain players don't, and certain players get, I don't know, knighted or whatever. And so there's sort of lots of very tangible things that you can talk about legacy. You've given this to the game, so therefore this is how we're going to honour you. But Kevin Keegan is a name that they're going to remember, aren't they? For as long as the game is being played.
The thing that struck me about the tributes to Kevin Keegan is not just his footballing acumen, not just his managerial prowess. It's the fact that he is known for knowing that football is for the fans.
Yes.
And that where the game of football belongs. We speak loads on this podcast, and have done, sadly, through the World Cup, about lots of things that have happened to football, decisions that have been made by the higher-ups that we don't necessarily, as fans that love the game, agree with, particularly this FIFA Forward Enterprise campaign that, as we predicted, has gone quiet because the football has started. A lot of the chat has been that Kevin Keegan would not stand for this, that Kevin Keegan would hate that football is being used to raise money for people. And I just think that's such a great legacy to have. We talk about legacy, what do you leave? But also, imagine something happens in 100 years' time, and the people that knew you while you were on this earth are like, what would Ed think of that? Ed wouldn't stand for that, I think that would be such an incredible thing, right? Like, oh, that thing has happened that is wrong. Yeah. Ed would not stand for that.
Ed would be turning in his grave.
Yeah.
That's the phrase. Yeah. So the Bible talks a lot about legacy, but in particular, there's sort of things that it talks about it in a good light, but there's also some warnings and foreshadowings as well. So I think, like, one of the things that the Bible definitely says is that legacy is not just the accumulation of stuff that you leave, right? We think about inheritance in these days, and it says, yes, it's good to leave an inheritance to your family, to your children, and all of that. But actually, the accumulation of stuff is not the goal here. The Bible also talks in Ecclesiastes about how there's a warning about being obsessed with people remembering you as well. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes chapter 2 that talks about, it says, for people are not remembered for very long. And it basically says, like, look, we're here and then we go, and hold that intention. But that said, there is an awful lot about the legacy that you pass on is the way you live your life. It's the way you have treated people around you. It's the wisdom that you've given them. It's the faith you pass on to your children. It's that thing, as you've just said, is how do people talk about you when you're gone? Whether that's, you might have moved to the other side of the country or whatever, or it could be years after you've passed away, is what do people think about you when they've got, do people bring you to mind when they're making decisions? Do people bring you to mind when they're having conversations about, important matters, morality, or, like you say, what would Kevin Keegan have thought of this? What would Joe Rivers have thought of this? So it is really interesting to hold that in balance, and to think about that quite seriously. What is the legacy that we're leaving behind to our friends, to our family, to our children? And I think that's a very important conversation to think about.
It is, and it's about doing it with humility as well, isn't it? And the ultimate example we have here is Jesus, and I'd say he probably left a pretty decent legacy. And
I think Jesus left the best legacy.
Yeah,
Joe.
well, that's it. That's the prime example, and even to be remembered as being someone who walked with Jesus is a great legacy. So yeah, it's just something to think about, isn't it? Okay, Ed, you've had long enough now. It's Bible Ballers.
I think I've got it. I've got a good guess anyway. Yeah.
Ooh.
So
let me read you the question again.
Read the question out, Joe. Yes.
Well, Mohamed Salah has made the move this summer from Liverpool to Turkish outfit Trabzonspor. He scored 2 goals at the weekend, much to my sadness, because I'd like him to score them for Liverpool. But who was the last player to make the move from Liverpool to Trabzonspor? And he is a Bible Baller.
So I think I remember a Liverpool player moving to Turkey. I can't remember who.
Okay.
As in, I can't remember what club he went to. But I'm going to say Daniel Sturridge.
Daniel Sturridge is correct, Ed.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
There we go.
He did move from Liverpool to Trabzonspor in 2019 following a Champions League victory. He made 11 appearances, scored 4 goals, and then a season later moved to Perth Glory, where he didn't score a single goal.
Well, never mind. He just felt very Turkish Super League to me. Well, that's all we've got time for, Joe.
It is.
But thank you so much for listening to The Big Man Up Top. If you want to get in touch with the show, please ping us an email, podcast@ucb.co.uk. Please follow, subscribe, and all that lovely stuff. Make sure you check out the socials. We're on Instagram and YouTube at Big Man Up Top Pod. And also, just make sure you tell your friends as well. Get involved in our FPL League as well. You'll find the details in the show notes for this episode. And there'll be a new episode out next Tuesday, won't there, Joe?
I will. See you then.
See you later.